I think it's worth talking about gear we don't like, because if you have a recording studio, there is a lot of traps you can fall into when it comes to gear. There are a lot of bad rabbit holes you do not want to go down. And I think it's worth mentioning a few things here. So first on our list of gear that we don't like is not a specific piece of gear. Again, we're talking big picture. I have a more broad thing here, and that is this. Any gear that has a cheaper plug-in alternative with comparative quality. Go back to episode number 45, where we talk about the 80-20 principle. When it comes to the 80-20 principle of gear, the software equivalent and the hardware equivalent nowadays, that gap is getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Every year.
Yeah, every year. And it's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper to get plugins versions of your favorite compressor or your favorite EQ. And so any gear that has a plugin alternative that is 10 times cheaper in most cases, a lot of cases, I just can't support buying the real thing unless you are just completely aware that there's a difference between a gear collection hobby and a home studio business. If you want to be a gear collector, that's a great hobby to be a part of. The gear can even retain value pretty well, so you're not necessarily wasting money, but
Sometimes.
you're storing, sometimes, not all the time, but you're storing money in a very illiquid asset, meaning if you need money quick, you can't access that without selling it, probably at a discount.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, I think what you said is really interesting about how every year the plugins are getting better and better and better. And you look down the road 10 years from now, plugins are going to be nuts.
Yep.
They're going to be nuts. And already there are all types of plugins that do things that aren't possible in the analog realm.
Yep. Just since I got started, man, digital guitar amps were a joke when I started in 2009. Nowadays, like when you take into account like things like Kemper, who are digitally profiling a analog sound, it's indistinguishable in a mix to me. You can maybe hear tiny little subtle differences, but you're getting into tiny nuances. Now it's the conversation of can you hear that minor difference in the mix versus, digital tones are garbage. It's changed so much in the last 8-9 years. I can't wait to see it in the next. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't wait to see the next 9-10 years in the digital plugin world.
Yeah, and the conversation should not be about which sounds better. The conversation should be about opportunity cost. If it was like, well, we saved 3 days in tracking that we were able to dedicate to writing because we did X, Y, and Z that was more efficient. Like, if it sounds 99.9% as good and you were able to invest more time or more money into something that actually made the record like materially better, that's an easy conversation to have.
Furthermore, if you took the difference between that $200 plugin and that $2,000 compressor and invested that $1,800 difference into your education on learning how to use that compressor more effectively, or learning how to use that EQ more effectively, that's going to be a massive difference in sound, not just the subtle differences between the plugin and the gear. And so that's just something I want everyone to take away from this episode is it's more about the user, not the gear in these days, especially when it comes to plugins versus hardware. And so put that money to better use in learning what the hell you're doing with it.